Abortion rights, Bethany! Hi, okay. Yeah, so I'm from the Chicago for Abortion Rights. My name's Bethany. I use they, them pronouns. Since the first International Women's Day, when working class women from New York to Berlin marched in the streets, International Women's Day has been a day to celebrate the role of women in the worldwide struggle for freedom and justice. A day of protest and collective action to demand liberation for all women and all people everywhere. But here in the West today, we are inundated with pink ads from billion-dollar corporations that say, "Happy International Women's Day," to sell us products that we don't need. We're here today to not accept the liberal co-optation of this holiday to celebrate the elite lean-in feminism of the ruling class. We do not accept this system of greed that puts billionaire profits over human needs and tries to divide us in the process. We must remember and reclaim the fighting radical spirit at the roots of International Women's Day among the working women of Europe and Russia who fought war, famine, and horrible working conditions and took to the streets to demand bread and peace. And the women in the U.S. who demanded the working woman's right to not only bread but roses too, as well as the right to vote. More than a century later, we are still fighting the barbarism of more war, genocide, famine, and environmental catastrophes. International Women's Day is not for the Zionist, so-called feminists celebrating their equal rights to colonize and blockade aid trucks. International Women's Day is not for the carceral feminists celebrating the opening of 69 cop cities around the U.S. International Women's Day is not for the liberal feminists celebrating their women CEOs as the disparity between their salaries and our wages widens every day. International Women's Day is not for the 501c3s celebrating their diversity initiatives while engaging in union busting. International Women's Day is not for the hashtag women in STEM who smash the patriarchy just to work in weapons manufacturing. International Women's Day is not for the TERFs celebrating the restrictions on gender-affirming care and calling for more blood as our children get murdered in school bathrooms. International Women's Day is not for the right-wing, anti-abortion Christian fascists celebrating the fall of Roe, celebrating the Supreme Court debating on our access to abortion pills, celebrating the forced closure of abortion clinics, and celebrating the $340 million of government funds to open and run fake clinics.
That's right!